Alright, everybody. This is Joshua here. This is going to be a fun one. I've been wanting to do this video for a little bit. Well, I've had this idea that's been rolling around in my head for about a year now. And I haven't ever really put it on tape or audio or anything, so I might as well get it down now. Because someone made a comment the other day on one of my videos about aliens. And how funny it is that the media and Hollywood always make aliens out to look like humans, and how we, if you want to, I hate using this word again, but anthropomorphize aliens, just like we do God, try to give them human characteristics, so we can kind of understand how they operate, and how fun is it to attack a blob, right? I mean, we want creatures that can run, that are fast. Some of them have more arms or legs, some of them can hang or swing or do things that humans can't do. But generally the scariest thing to us is a creature that looks similar to us that's really creepy, that can fly or whatnot. Well, I have the same questions as to why aliens always want to look like humans. So over, the last, I don't know, 10, 15 years, I've wondered that. And all the shows I've watched and various documentaries about biology and science and understanding the genome and how genetics really work, the understanding that we've gained in the last 15 years has totally brought to light a lot of reasons why aliens would look like us. And I'm just going to do this because I'm not trying to say that this is true. This is just from what I've learned, what I've ascertained from my studies. Apparently, a lot of folks ask, why wouldn't aliens be bigger or smaller? Well, as it turns out, now this is scientifically based on the speed of light, okay? So the speed of light, being a universal constant, right, is basis for how our synapses fire, right, in our brains, in our bodies. In other words, our brains can only communicate with our bodies at a certain particular speed. So if we're very small, our brains could connect with our bodies quicker. However, our brains would be smaller. Now, if we're larger, if humans were to be larger than we are today, the brains would have a harder time communicating with the body. Therefore, it would take more brain energy to run the basic mechanics of the body than we could utilize for thinking. Now, this is all scientific jargon, so I'm only repeating what I've learned, and I don't I don't know if this is fact. All I know is that this is what I've learned, and the scientists say that if our brains were any bigger than they are now, then the brains themselves wouldn't be able to connect with the other parts of the brain fast enough. We would have to spend too much time keeping our brains energized. We use a lot of energy for our brains. I can't remember the percentage, but I want to say it's like 80% or something crazy like that. It's a lot, and it takes a lot of power to think, and you can really get fatigued from overthinking. I mean, thinking opens up a lot of different parts of your brain. So if this is true, that means that humans are the ideal size for a reason, that there's a reason why we're not larger than this or smaller than this. So if this is really a universal consistent as far as the speed of light, then that would explain why aliens would be about the same size as us. Okay, so that explains a little bit of that, at least gives an idea about it. But now I want to move to the features. Why would an alien be bipedal, and why would it have opposable thumbs or fingers? Not all the aliens in the movies do, but you'd think that. I was always amazed at the shows where an alien would fly a ship to some other planet and the alien doesn't even have opposable thumbs. It's like, how do they build these things? I mean, come on, some of these aliens look like they're really stupid, but they've got these monstrous ships, and sure, Hollywood makes it out to be all crazy. Here's the thing. The way I see it is, if any creature could build ships like that, they would have to have some sort of opposable thumb. And as well, bipedalism is not something that's just chance. Bipedalism turns out to be one of those universal constants, as far as what I've learned anyway. What they found is that organisms, in their crystalline structure, in their original, before they're formed, tend to take on particular shapes. In other words, nature desires particular shapes for life forms. And this starts out in the, what is it, the zygote stage? I don't even know. I don't know all the terms. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a biologist. But when life is very small, it tends to take on particular geometric shapes. Here's a story for you, and this is, I'm going to come right back to the thing about the features, but this is an experiment that they did, and it was done with test tubes, and they took a sealed test tube with distilled water, completely hermetically sealed and completely sealed out in a separate room. Then they set up a test tube with microbes or sea life in it, seawater. They shone a laser through the test tube with the seawater, then through a plexiglass window, and then into the sealed container. From what I've read, small forms began to take form, sea-like creatures with the geometric shapes, as if they were going to. I'm not sure how they did. You know, my mistake. Maybe they took the seawater and shined the light through the seawater into. Yeah, I think that's what they did. Anyway, the point being, they did another one with the chicken egg. This one will be a better example for it. They had a chicken, and I think it was a duck, and they shined the laser through a chicken, through the duck egg into a chicken egg, and the chicken hatched with webbed feet like a duck, a certain percentage of the time, like 40%. Basically, what this is showing, and what I'm trying to explain here, is that DNA and information, life information, is not just passed through a substrate or substance, or a liquid, or an atmosphere. That life is actually traveling on waves of light. That the structure for DNA itself, the structure for life that we have on this planet, is a cosmic wave, an energy. I believe in the cosmic wave theory, that there's a pulse that comes from the center of our galaxy every 26,000 years. I think it's every 26,920 or something. And this has been shown because of the radioactive isotopes they found in the glacier when they've taken core samples. And they found that about every 26,000 years on the dot, there's this regular interval of a particular radioactive isotope. And they believe that there's this energy wave that passes through the galaxy. And so here's what I'm thinking. We basically, these life goes in waves. Life ebbs and flows, like the tides of the ocean. Life will build up for a while on the earth, and then it will kind of decay and fall apart. And then this wave of energy will come through. If you want to go this far, some people call it the voice of God. And this wave comes through and it restructures everything. Look at it like a computer reboot. Your computer starts to kind of shit out. It's nothing you've done in particular. It's just the way that things go. And you turn it off and you restart it. Or you might reformat. It'd be better maybe just you clean install the Windows, but maybe that's a poor metaphor, poor analogy. But you see where I'm coming from here. And this is important stuff. This is some of the most important stuff that, to me, anyway. Because I think that historically, we don't have enough written down to really understand if this happened 25,000 years ago. Hopefully in time we will. So far we've only gone back, say, 12, 15,000 years. Beyond that, we've got, cave drawings. So this may be all bunk. And there's no real proof. There's no actual evidence that it changes, all the life on Earth. But here's what they have found, is that in particular areas, in particular parts of the world, animals seem to have a leap in evolutionary standards. Like they will develop, they'll stay one way for millions of years, and then all of a sudden they'll change. And one might say that that's a mutation, which is totally possible. In a lot of cases, it's absolutely true. A random mutation will take hold. But I see this as perhaps there's something different going on. perhaps there is a magnetic disturbance in a particular area of the world. That the globe is set up with these energy centers. We know that there are particular areas that are vortexes, particular areas that have a higher energy level. People who have moved out of spots and had their cancer go away, moved to spots and had it come back, and we don't understand how these things work. We're totally overwhelmed by it. My hope is that through understanding different forms of energy, waves, that we can't see, we can one day start to understand how to fix ourselves and how to help ourselves medically and mentally through using these waves, these types of energy. But being able to transfer DNA through light, to me, if this experiment's true, is one of the most amazing discoveries ever made. Because this shows that I know a lot of folks don't understand how light waves really work, but if you look at the spectrum sometime, it's really eye-opening to see the light spectrum compared with infrared and UV, which are infrared is just below what we can see and UV is just above what we can see. And there are plants and animals that sense or see in these particular wavelengths, and it brings up many questions, about life, having the idea of all these different wavelengths, and I had a few that I wanted to do in a different video, but I was thinking if, there are these spectrums, beauty, kind of off the subject, is really in the eye of the beholder. And what do we consider beautiful? We consider beautiful things that look beautiful. We find beauty in everything. But what if we saw in a different spectrum? What if we saw in infrared, for example? If we saw in infrared, what would be beautiful to us would be the hottest rocks. Not the most beautiful rocks, but the warmest rocks. If we saw in UV, it may refract certain types of energy or light, and we may see those as the most beautiful, UV reactive. And this brings beauty into the picture, and I know that's kind of off the beaten path, but I think it really ties in there, because there's something going on with light and our DNA and the structure of our minds and our bodies. And I think that once we discover it, it's going to blow the world away. It's going to change the way we see everything. Once we finally can measure this energy force, I think that we will get past so much of the pseudoscience, calling everything pseudoscience. I give credit to Rupert Sheldrake for his morphogenic field theory, which I was not aware of his theory beforehand. I've kind of developed my own, but his is very similar. It's this energy field. And if you mix it with this whole cosmic wave theory, it really brings to light that there may be some sort of genetic change that comes. Time will tell. Or not. Peace and love, everybody. I'm out.